All right, you guys, let's listen up. We won a game yesterday. If we win one today, that's 2 in a row. We win one tomorrow, that's called a winning streak. It has happened before. So let's see some hustle. Let's jack it up a little. I got a feeling things are about to turn around for us.
2 in a row, Roy. 2 in a row.
Man, I haven't seen that movie. You weren't even alive the last time I watched that movie.
Dude, that is one of my all-time favorite movies. Absolutely came out before I was born. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Another thing that I always hear people quote from that is leaves us only one thing to do, win the whole effing thing.
Yeah.
That's a great movie that I feel like has stood the test of time, weirdly enough.
Dude, it's definitely a classic, and it was huge. It still is.
And it's kind of funny because, like, when you really think about it, there's actually nobody of significance in that movie. I mean, I guess Charlie Sheen kind of made it. But, like...
whoever that dude was that was the coach, he was, like, pretty big in the 80s. I don't know who he is. Shame on me. But, like, he was in a ton of stuff when I was a kid.
Well, and supposedly the guy who plays the catcher is Jake Taylor, Tom Berenger. He was in things in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, Tom Berenger.
Before I was born. Yeah, exactly.
He was the substitute. Like, that was cool. Like, he was, like, the substitute and was, like, a school where, like, the kids are, like, all running stuff thinking they're violent. And then he's, like, military or something. And he, so that was a good one. Now you got me wanting to go to IMDb and see.
I think he was like in some sniper franchise. Like he was all.
Yeah, he was in a sniper franchise. Yeah, Tom Berenger, like the coach is going to be stuck in my head. I can't think of who it is. If there's anyone older than
it reminds me of Rip Torn, but it's absolutely not Rip Torn. I'm just.
I'm on the cusp of information right here.
So Roy, how have you been? You caught up on X-Men, my friend?
The cartoon.
Yeah, X-Men.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. There is nothing finer than that cartoon. I'm really enjoying that, and it continues to just keep hitting. I love the way that they're able to take from whatever point that something happened in continuity and kind of just stitch it with what they need to tell the story. And they kind of glue it all together with all this like fan service, and I'm here for it. Like they got me like completely, and I was going to be the last guy. So like, and I think most of that credit goes to Bo DeMeo. Good job on that. But I feel like he kind of took a play from Hickman's book, and like that's what I feel Hickman did when he did the original House of X and Powers of X. Is take those other moments from when they relaunched here, relaunched there, and weave them into something that is still coherent and believable and showing you where you are in that universe. And I think they did a good job on that, and I really enjoyed it. I couldn't say enough about that. I did watch the Marvels, though, and I'll tell you right now,
I forgot
that was so bad. Bro, I don't even pay for that. I told you in the chat, I don't even pay for that Disney subscription, and I'm still mad.
It's still salty about it.
Yep, I had nothing to do but kill time, and it didn't cost me anything, and I'm still mad that I watched it.
And you're never gonna get those hours back, bro. Never gonna get those hours.
I don't want them back. I don't know. Anyways, that's the negative stuff. So that's all the only thing really super negative thing I have to say. So I'd rather stay with the X-Men 97 highlight.
All right. So before we jump into what we want to talk about, if anybody's wondering why I'm dressed like this, this is when you got the podcast at 10, getting married at 12. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's busy.
Jacket's on the door on my way out. Me and Lauren still have to go. I just got my name officially changed like 3 weeks ago, so we're like at least 3 weeks late. But that way, the marriage license moves everything over. So like that was a thing we had to wait on, which was it takes like 2 to 3 months to get your name changed in America, like to do all of the pieces.
Yeah.
Like get your social security, get your driver's license, just in case any of y'all ever wondering. It takes some time.
It takes some time. It was a mess. Like Michelle and I also got married like at the courthouse, and we habitually lie about our anniversary date because we were supposed to get married on the 21st of December, the solstice. That was like the only thing that really mattered. And then the slightest snafu in the paperwork, and it's like, nope. And so it ended up being like literally like the next day or something that we were able to pull it through. But so I couldn't even tell you what day I was actually married on. I can tell you the anniversary is December 21st. It's the winter solstice. You can't miss it. So
I was gonna say I'll 100% forget May 10th, like in 2 days. Like I'll
yeah,
yeah, we got
that's
married.
ridiculous.
We got married March 2nd. That's what happened. Like
That's it. Yeah.
all right. So ooh.
See, God consecrated it right there
Yep.
for you. That's amazing.
So Free Comic Book Day was this past weekend. I didn't bring all my Free Comic Book Day books, but Absolute Power was one of the ones I got the chance to read. And first of all, Free Comic Book Day was great. I think I've said this to anybody that will listen. So I've been working Free Comic Book Days since 2019. 2020 is a blur to me. I know when I worked at my previous job, we did a Free Comic Book Day later in the year. I want to say it was close to Halloween. That's obviously because first Saturday in May, we were still kind of in the middle of a pandemic. But I've been saying this to anybody that will listen. I think Free Comic Book Day has been growing every year, definitely since 2021. I've worked at a few shops. I don't doubt that if I went into 10 shops, 20 shops, I would see a pattern of 2021 was a great Free Comic Day, 2022 grew, 2023 grew, and 2024 is everybody's best Free Comic Book Day. I think part of that is more people are into the medium. The movies, as good or as bad as they are, they get
bring people in.
They get the average person into that. So, but yeah, Travis, I was just saying, this is you got the podcast at 10 and you got the marriage at the courthouse at 12. So like I'm when this ends, I'm out the door grabbing my suit jacket. We obviously already got married, but we got a legal thing. But yeah, and Travis, you were out at Free Comic Book Day at a different shop. Tell me if you agree. If it just feels like Free Comic Book Day is getting better and bigger and better and better, and as long as a store knows how to market themselves just a tiny bit, but they should. It looks like they've consistently seen record days, record Free Comic Book Days, which is great. I think part of that is, again, so many people getting into the medium. I think Free Comic Book Day is a day for families too. Like, I mean, you kind of, the last 2 Free Comic Book Days I've seen, you've at least brought one kid.
Yeah, I try to make it 0, but I always remember it's always at least one of them. So yeah, it's definitely a family day, whether you want it to be or not.
But like, it's cool because the store was great and it was a good turnout, and the books this year were really good. Yeah, and like what's really cool, so like obviously I I grabbed my books at the end of the day with whatever we had left at Blackbird, and they told me, oh, take some books home for Lauren, this and that. And like, I grabbed the books I wanted to read. I grabbed Flash Gordon, I grabbed Absolute Power. I'm not a Marvel guy, and by word of mouth, I already understand everything going on in Blood Hunt. So like, I didn't kind of want to take one of those.
Vampires, what do you know?
But what I thought was great is, so we have neighbors that let our dogs out. Me and Lauren have busy, our work schedules.
Wait, who let the dogs out?
The neighbors' children. The neighbors' children let the dogs out for us. It's super affordable. We love them. And then like a couple months back, the mom let us know, because we were thinking about getting them gifts, little trinkets, like how people do with kids. And they're like, oh, they're getting really into superheroes. I said, say no more, fam. Say less. So I came back from Free Comic Book Day. Instead of taking a ton for me, I took, the Encanto Turning Red flip book. That's for their little girl. I got the Spidey and His Amazing Friends. That's for the 2 little ones. Yeah. I got the Barkham Asylum. That's for like the 11-year-old. I tried to get a lot of those kids books because to me, that's one of the best parts of Free Comic Book Day. Forget about getting an adult into comics. The adult's going to make that decision on their own real fast, right? I like it. I don't. Kids is one that like, you never know when you're going to get them in there, right? You hand that kid a comic, they could rip it up, throw it away, not look at it ever again. But there's very much that same opportunity that they're going to read it and be like, I want more of this, or whatever age they're at, whatever language they're like able to put out. I always have felt like Free Comic Book Day is a huge opportunity to get the youth into comic books.
Yeah, we should do like a team up with Big Tobacco and just really, really just zone in on the youth, like together, like their money, our love for reading. And, Could really
Joe
go
Campbell's
somewhere.
not on the back advertisement of the free comic book day books. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Oh,
Joe
dude, that'd be brutal.
Or no, was it Joe Cool or Joe Camel? I don't remember. It's
Joe
Joe Camel,
Camel,
right?
yeah.
Joe Camel, bro. And like I remember, like I vaguely remember this because I was a kid.
Joe
But like
Cool.
the Marlboro packs, like
There
you
was
could
a whole
send,
band eventually.
you'd send the
Marlboro Miles.
the proof, yeah, and you could get like a starter jacket.
Bro, I've been looking for that stuff on eBay, dude. I swear to God.
that was the beginning of the loyalty clubs, right? It's like, oh, you buying enough Marlboro, bro? Like, I got you. Now we're gonna get demonetized because we're out here talking about Marlboro. But Roy, tell me, you were in the shop for like at least like almost an hour. You know, your kid lost you once or twice. I had to shout your name, but like, how was free comic book day for you?
That ended up being why we had to go. Like at one point, we both looked back, and when they looked over their shoulder, and it was literally shoulder to shoulder everywhere that you could see, they looked back at me and like, I have to go. And I was like, all right, let's get. So I mean, that's just how busy it was. Like it was incredible. I thought it's well organized. It was well staffed. Everyone was on the ball, and like, man, that cafe never ceases to impress me. Like I've got a pretty big background in restaurant and food and even coffee at some point. And watching them go is always impressive. Steady line for hours on end, and they just kill it. And you can see it on them at the end of the day, which is also amazing. You know what I mean? Because they're in it. So that's great. The comic books, I'm sure they're great. I haven't read any of them. Like I'm still so busy. Like even right now, I'm busy. So I have like to do a big catching up, but I can't do that until I get my family sorted. So as far as the comics, I'm sure they're great. But as far as the experience, it was amazing. And I saw the pictures of Travis and Sabian out there at the
Emily was out there
and everything. Yeah, everything was looking great. They were all. I love those guys. They turn in great work, and they always super nice. So it's nice to see that every shop is getting people in there, and like you said, get them involved. Show them that there's something in that you like. Someone's making a comic book that you like. I guarantee it.
For real, because like, and again, I missed out, because I didn't want to grab them until, and I'm just one person, but it's just the way I am. I didn't want to grab them until the end. So a couple of things I was interested in were gone already. But what I love about Free Comic Book Day is like, not only are you going to get your Marvel stuff, your DC stuff, bro, like I did not think I was going to get a Johnny Quest book.
You wanted that though.
I know. I wanted Johnny Quest book. And then Popeye with like the anime art style.
I saw that.
Like that looked cool. Like I'm intrigued, right? Color me intrigued. And like, obviously the whole idea of Free Comic Book Day is a lot of these things will lead into real series. I know Popeye is going to be a real series through Massive Publishing. I'm not sure about Johnny Quest. But like, that's what I love about it. Cause like I would not have thought about Popeye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I grab a Popeye comic book for $4.99 without getting like,
I would not. Yeah. You have to give me something. Yeah.
And same thing with Flash Gordon, which I'm really excited about. I haven't read that one yet, but it's Jeremy Adams who did Flash and Green Lantern writing Flash Gordon, which is not a character I grew up with. I'm not going to pretend I'm that old or that old school, But
you've seen Ted, so
exactly, and I know the theme song, Flash. Oh,
dude, it's a staple in my house to do that.
Yeah, so like I'm all about it, dude. And it's published by Mad Cave, which is a Florida company. So like I'm always gonna give those guys a shot when I can.
That's what's up.
We mentioned Travis and all of them, and I did want to like really quickly. I don't want to bring down the tone, but I did want to just I don't know if like shout out's not the right word. I just wanted to mention out there. Daniel Martinez.
Oh my gosh.
Who was if you don't know him, I know Travis knew him. Me and Roy knew him a tiny bit from booking. I booked him for a collective community con. It was for the community con, which I was, when I looked back at a picture that Travis put there, I was so happy of what I built, and that was the first time I met Daniel, and he was the nicest guy in the world. He was so thankful to be invited to an event where so many I could tell he looked around and said like, oh man, I almost like don't belong, but like we made him feel like he belonged. And he was so grateful. He gave everybody a Daniel Martinez Law shirt,
I have one. Yeah.
Like he's the nicest guy. So when I saw the news of his passing earlier in the week,
Crazy. So sorry to hear that.
It took me back because and you know this as much as all the Space Coast people do. He was a big member of the community, right? He did do a comic book.
Yeah.
He was a lawyer. He did MMA training, but like the dude not just Thanksgiving, I think he did it twice a year. He'd do the turkey drive. And from
That was so impressive to me.
and thousands of turkeys is what I hear from those locals out there. So
Dude,
like
it's insane. I watched the videos of them doing it.
and like people like that. First of all, it's sad that he's no longer with us, but people like that, their memory lives on far longer than some. I'm saying people will remember him. He made an impact on so many people's lives. I can imagine in that community, that number is astronomical. Gambit Gambit did covers for him for his no contest book, and I know like they formed a bond. Travis wrote the no contest books. They obviously made a bond that like is unforgettable for Travis. So I just wanted to say, Daniel Martinez, rest in peace. But your memory is gonna go on for sure, and I hope that's I know the family's going through a lot, but I hope that's a small piece of peace that they can find that their husband, their son, their father made an impact in this world, because a lot of us leave this world and there is not an impact of that level. Not to say there's anything bad against that, but when you end up making an impact, man,
it's super realistic. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, like my heart goes out to that whole situation. I couldn't believe it. I was completely sidelined on that one.
Yeah.
And I thought about that stuff too. And obviously, like I said, watching them, I met him because we were over at the shop. They were doing the no contest book. Great guy, everything was cool. Really enjoyed meeting him. Then you find out about the turkeys and everything, and I watched them do that, and I saw just like how many places they went and how far, and I thought that was really amazing. And gosh, I even I pulled this shirt out of like the deep freeze portion of my closet, because the guy was on my mind, because of course, what do? You remember the people, when they're gone and what they did, and and their actions that they took. And man, like I'm glad you did, like you said, not necessarily slow the tone down, but I'm glad we did take a second for that. Yeah, I think that guy truly deserves it.
Absolutely, exactly what you said. You took the words right out of my mouth. He's just, and not everybody might have known him, but like to know him was to have your life change even just for a second, because like I'm very guilty of it, of being like not non-appreciative sometimes of life, right? Like it happens to the best of us. But you meet somebody like that, and it kind of grounds you in the sense of like, man, this guy's got a lot. He was a lawyer, he had a family, but he still wanted to give more. And what I loved about, he did a lot of law, I think criminal law for the most part. But when he passed, I saw a lot of people in there saying how they helped him get their kids back. And to me, that's deep, because that's a tough. First of all, like the person that lived with us over the summer was doing a custody battle, and like that stuff gets messy, man. That stuff gets tough. People lie. People, it's real hard, man. So like for him to have gone out of his way to do a lot of custody stuff, like I just, Daniel Martinez, want to just say his name one more time. Condolences to the family. I do believe they have a GoFundMe up. You can probably find that through Travis's Facebook, Travis Gibb. But yeah, just Daniel Martinez, really, I met him twice, I think.
Yeah.
I think I met him once in person. We texted on Facebook Messenger about some legal stuff. And a guy who left a lasting impression on my life. And he did with so many other people. So like, I just wanted to shout out to Daniel Martinez. May he rest in peace. And hopefully his family can find a little bit of peace on how amazing of a person Daniel actually was.
For sure.
Oh, David's in Georgia. What's up, David?
We're just road trip without me, huh?
Free comic book day. Roy was saying, and Roy's right about the cafe, man. The cafe and those poor girls and Tyler and Connor, like they don't get to be like me, Aaron, and Carly, where we get to go out and like kind of see all the fun of people. they are very much making drinks and making food. I do want to give a shout out to Nick. Nick is a customer of ours who, and obviously, we know there's food in Blackbird, right? We can eat sandwiches all day. But Nick is a very nice guy. Apparently, every free comic book day, he makes barbecue for the store, for the staff. So so that they can eat something a little different.
Oh wow.
Oh man, he made some kicking chicken that was, for a Spanish guy, it was still a little bit spicy. I know Carly couldn't handle the spice. And then he made some pulled pork that was phenomenal. So shout out to Nick, because that was, yeah, he's a pit master, very much a pit master. Like
That's
I
what's
love
up.
barbecue. I love barbecue. He knocked it out of the park, and that kicking chicken, bro. Oh man, it was a perfect blend of like some barbecue chicken with like a little bit of Asian spices. Like, oh, it was good. It was good.
Well, yeah.
So let's jump over to the best reads of the past week. I know you hadn't gotten a chance to read too much. I did. I had the last 2 days off, so I went on a reading frenzy, to say the least.
I'm gonna get there. I just need more time.
I know you've been busy. Those are bang bang legs. Yeah, those were. That was like, it was good, man. And you could tell it was gonna be spicy because he leaves the little pepper flakes on that bad boy. Like, you know, like, oh, it was the good kind of spice. It was spicy where you like almost wanna cry, wipe your forehead, but like it still had flavor, which is the
I'm Creole, bro. You got to bring it way hotter than that. Son.
Like, you know, I'm Spanish, but I ain't that Spanish in the sense I want some flavor with my spice. I don't want to cry just to cry, you know. Like maybe I'm I'm soft.
Nah, you're not soft. You're good. I've
So
eaten dinner with you, man. You're good.
So this is what I read and what I enjoyed, and it's funny because it's some of my favorite writers in the business right now, to be fair. So like I said, I read Absolute Power. This Absolute Power preview is written by Mark Wade. I was hoping for a little Scott Snyder in there, but it's all right.
Does this count?
That does count. That's the same book, but and you know what's funny? That's the last page of the preview. I was like, why does that look so familiar?
Yeah, don't be ridiculous. I just got the foil. I'll pay for it. I'm an adult.
But the
Want
story
that foil,
is really
baby.
cool. I'm not super. I'm not reading Batman as much as I should, so I'm not super familiar with Failsafe. But he kind of seems like he's working with Amanda Waller to do a lot of the bad things.
I have the first appearance of Failsafe.
Yeah, I have that too.
Randomly.
But I do think this is gonna be a fun book to read. My one hope is I am very much in the boat with a lot of other people. I very much dislike Amanda Waller. I very much do not want her humanized. I don't need it, right? I don't need to feel bad for Amanda Waller. She is what she is, and it works, right? She is not.
Yeah, it should be pretty unrepentant. That seems unfortunate.
But it does seem from reading that they're going to give us some backstory. I actually never knew that Amanda Waller was a widowed, like army wife or whatever, like her husband. I never knew that.
They're really making a sympathy run.
They're trying, and it's like I don't know if I want it or not. You know?
I don't think I do, but I mean, whatever, you know.
I know, Dave. I just like as I was telling Roy, it's like I'm only one person, and I know taking one copy of a book like wasn't going to ruin anybody's day. But it's just like how I am. Like I want to. If one other person gets Johnny Quest and Popeye, and they maybe add it to sub, like that works for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it probably won't stop me from if I see Johnny Quest on FOC, like I'm still gonna FOC it. But that person that picked it up, they might not. So like
same thing. That's why I turned over most of my picks to my kids.
I love this joke. Once we're done with this, I'm gonna get a screenshot and it's gonna be my joke. But this is when you got podcasts at 10 and you got to get married at the courthouse at 12. Lauren and me, I got all my documents done.
You need her hand coming in and grabbing the tie.
Yeah. She'll be pulling me away here in about half an hour to go to the courthouse. So
that would be the best way to do it.
The official document, if you will. So let me go here. Roy, I actually think you'd like this. This is Crocodile Black by Philip Kennedy Johnson.
I was thinking about it.
Philip Kennedy Johnson very much exists in that he does a few things very well. He did 007 amazingly because Philip Kennedy Johnson is a literally currently enrolled Army man, I believe. I believe it's Army. So he writes a lot of noir. Let's call it noir, right? This tiptoes on some noir while also being kind of like a serial killer book. I absolutely thank you, Dave.
Have a good day.
And I love this. I'm not going to give away too much of it, but what I loved about it was it takes place during the pandemic. Let's just call it our pandemic. It could be alt reality, but there's masks and stuff like that. So it takes place during the pandemic. And there's this kid who's clearly probably schizophrenic, sociopathic, who knows? And he does like Instacart, Uber Eats delivery drop-offs, right? And in the book, he's very closed off. He's going through therapy. He tells his therapist how he likes the masks, because he can be whoever he wants under there.
Sure.
They're like, oh, that's escapism. Like, be careful with that. So they let you know he's already had issues with who he is. Very early in the book, he goes to drop off food at a gentleman who's his last name is Black. I can't remember his first name, but it's very clear that this guy's probably like a mobster.
Okay.
But the guy's dead. The guy's dead in his chair. He finds him dead. The guy's wearing these crocodile skin shoes, right?
Okay.
So what you find out is there's a murder that's happened, very brutal murder,
Somebody did a murder.
and they see footprints on the staircases, and it's these crocodile black boots. And you
Okay.
see the detectives saying like, "Oh man, it's him again! It's him again! It's him again!" And they absolutely are thinking it's this guy that the kid found dead. Right? This guy was a murderer. He was a mobster. What you're obviously going to unravel is it's no longer said mobster. It's a sociopathic teenager who took the shoes because he thought they were cool, and then he went off on his killing. He went off killing, and I thought it was cool because like you could tell that there's going to be multiple aspects to this. There's going to be the detectives, right, chasing that ghost, pretty much, literally,
Right.
and then there's this kid who's quote unquote finding his way in his sociopathic, murderous ways. And I'm intrigued at how it goes because the first issue does not, he doesn't go back and see his. You don't get to see what happened. Like if he's going to try to continue living a normal life while doing this on the side. Has he gone all in on being murderous? I like it. I think it's some of Philip Kennedy Johnson's best work. He's currently doing War Journal and Hulk.
Yeah.
But those are very different books than this. So I think this is fun. I'm excited to see where that goes.
How many issues is it supposed to be?
I think it's going to be a mini series. I don't see it being an ongoing.
I don't either. That's what I'm saying. Like, because like I was kind of on the fence with that one, anyways. As I pull away from so many books that I buy without reading, and so I could be swayed on that one. That's why I was curious how many issues it's going to shake out to be.
I think it's a mini series. It reads like a mini series. Like this kid, he already has a murder under his belt in the first issue, so like he's gonna get thirsty for it. He'll probably slip. Like I'm thinking 5 issues, but Crocodile Black. It was a very simple book in the sense it only had really one cover at the shop. Like
but it caught my eye in previews.
Yep. Yep, and it's really cool because the kid, like I said, I think schizophrenia. Because if you notice, he's got these weird outlines on there. There's a couple of moments in the book where he sees in the background, like he's in the car once and he looks in the mirror, and there's like what looks like red scribbles, but it's like this, not a person, but maybe like a toy, right? Like a Mixes Pitalik, like a Batmite type of thing. So you could tell something's wrong with his mentals, as Marshall.
All right.
So I'm excited about it. And then I'm going to go into my Ram V minute here. So I read Dawn Runner #2, and I love this book because while I love mechs and kaiju, the book is not necessarily 100% just about mechs and kaiju. It actually gives you a great background because what's happening in this book is they've been making the mechs for years, ever since the kaiju invasion, think Pacific Rim. But then they've made this Dawn Runner mech, which is they call them Iron Killers, IKs, Iron Kings, sorry. And the Dawn Runner is supposed to be the best mech they've ever made. And the best pilot that they've ever had is piloting it. And she starts, at the end of issue 1, she starts having hallucinations while in the mech, like so much so that she can't operate the mech, like she almost dies. So what you find out in issue 2 is why this happened. And it's actually very cool in the sense that to upgrade the mechs, they started putting human brains in them. So like deceased former pilots, their DNA is going into the mech. But if you're having a neural link with something like that, like you're obviously going to end up getting some memories. So it's very cool in that scientific way of kaiju, mechs. So this is very cool. It's like the premise, your main character is your pilot and not the kaiju or not the machine, and I like that a lot.
Sure.
And to stay with Ram V, this is Ram V and Dan Waters, who are slowly becoming a hive mind, because they're also doing the one hand and the 6 fingers and the one hand. So they've been doing that. But this is Creature from the Black Lagoon #1, Universal Monsters. This is phenomenal. I'm not a big Creature of Black Lagoon fan. I'm more Mummy, like things like that, Dracula. But this was phenomenal. The first issue gives you it's a lot of just background setting it up. Creature does show up, but you understand what it takes place in Peru. I believe that's where the mythos always happens. but you see there's a confusion on, is there a murderer out here? Is there a creature? Is the creature good? Is the creature bad? I love it. It's phenomenal. The art is great, and Ram V and Dan Waters knocked this out of the park.
That's what's up.
And then I read Space Ghost.
How was it?
It was great. I wanted, and I understand why you don't do it. I wanted like 2% more laughs in it because I grew up with Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Sure.
But it is a phenomenal sci-fi superhero book. Let's call it that, right? He fights Brack, Captain Brack, in the first issue. It's very cool. Jane and Jace are in there along with Blip. You get the origin of why they're all together. Like it is a very great first issue for a character that is 50 years old. Most people haven't seen him on TV for 30 years. So like it gives you all that background you need. I thought it was a phenomenal first read.
And does it completely skip by like whatever it was they did? I don't know what it was, like 2005 or something like that. Like someone did a comic book where it was like really rad actually, and it was kind of like a darker take on everything.
That was I forget who did the writing. I know Alex Ross did covers for that because
Ross did the covers.
I remember the graphic novel like as if it's right in front of me. But it's like that. I don't know if it skips. I don't think it didn't. It definitely doesn't spin out of that. First of all, that was published by DC, so like it definitely doesn't spin out of that because I remember.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it definitely, you don't miss a beat because like there's an intro panel that's like, oh, and the Space Ghost and he saves the galaxy, like your typical intro to a cartoon.
Right.
And then it very much starts off on the ship that Jace and Jan are on with Blip, and you find out why the Federation is kind of after them, and then Space Ghost saves them. And then the end of it is because they're like, oh, we're alone because their dad dies on the ship, right? And Space Ghost is like, no, you have me. So you could tell it's literally the origin of like why Space Ghost, Jane, Jason, Blip all get together. So I liked it. It was a great jumping in point. Let's word it like that.
My long eyes are here. Damn it.
And then that's what I read. I still have a small bit in my pile to read. I know you didn't get a chance to read too much.
I got no, but I got covers. You know what I mean? I still collected.
What foils you get this week?
What foils? So obviously I got that Dan Mora. I did not get the free comic book day version of this. Like I said, I ended up like splitting my picks with my kid because like you said, the same thing. Like if I can get the kids interested, that's worth it to me. You know what I mean? So especially when I walked in and was like, what is that? Because I didn't even know that it was going to be there. So I was stoked. And then I got the Green Lantern facsimile, obviously.
Ooh.
Because, like, I don't know, anything like this, like I said, it's a book that either you can't afford or you've never read. And here's, like, a handy-dandy copy of it, and it's foil. You know what I mean? Like, for me, because I don't speculate at all or ever buy a comic book with the intent to sell a comic book, like, ever. So, to me, this is just dope. I like having it. It's cool. And then weirdly enough, you'll see their value go up. You know what's crazy? Like, because I have a cover price, and so I'm connected, like, you get like fair market value across like eBay sales and stuff. Those stupid chunky Invincible trades that I bought from you for like $5 a piece, they actually have going up in value. I've never seen a trade paperback move up in value before. It's nuts. So I thought that was crazy. That is how popular Invincible is.
It is. It 100% is.
Yeah, so that's gnarly. And so continuing on with Secret Wars. So this is number 5. So I'm almost halfway done with this while we're just starting Infinite Crisis over in DC. But I'm going to do it. Like, absolutely. Like, it's so cool. I don't think I have any copy of Secret Wars at all. And I do have, like, some old ass trade of Crisis. So but I don't know. I don't care. It's the foil and I want it. So this is dope. This Alex Ross for Blood Hunt for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That's rad. And this series is actually pretty good. This is 15. I'm pretty caught up on this within the last maybe the last 3 issues I missed. But I have them all. But
did you start
good?
Are you caught up, or have you at least read I want to say it might be right in that pocket where you haven't read, but like Doctor Strange got really good where in the sense that there like was a small arc where like they get sucked into like a game, a role playing game or something like that, and they're literally like it feels like D&D almost like they're playing in a D&D world. That literally might be right where you got off because I think it's 2 issues ago. Is where
Oh yeah, I must have
but
just
it's
missed it.
really cool because it works with that
Dude.
magic stuff. It's like, oh, here you step into this thing, and it's
Yeah.
not like at all like what you know.
It's Judd McKay. You know what I mean? Like the orchestrator of Marvel Comics at this point, I guess. Like it seems like that guy's writing
Thank you,
everything
Candace.
everywhere all at once over at Marvel. Like, so, good for him. But so that covers Raw, and then I don't know because I don't want to go forever, so you can actually talk about comic books that you've read, like we should be doing. But I do want to take a second to shout out to my boy John Jang.
John Jang, man, he'd been quiet for a little bit. I hadn't seen some John Jang covers, and then all of a sudden he drops us. Thank you so much, Candace. We're excited. But John Jang comes out of nowhere with back-to-back covers on the same day. It was Kneel Before Zod and Batman, right? That was the one that.
Shut up with this Zod cover, dude. Oh my god. This is the first time. I don't want my face in it, but I want to make sure you can see. This is the first time that any cover artist has knocked my boy Lucio Perillo off of my.
Oh yeah,
list.
you went with Jang instead of Perillo on that.
Yep, sure did.
Yep, that is true.
Sure did for the first time, and my collection is saturated with Lucio's work. Thank God. But yeah, that's the first time. So I had to flip over, and then I was originally just gonna decide between the one or the other. But then when you were like, "Hey, did you not see this?" and I was like, "Damn it, no, I saw it, and yes, I do, I do want it." Gang, gang. So that guy, I will always really, really lean into someone whose art I already love, and then I meet that person, and that person is a stunning individual. I lean into him hard after that. Like I would help John Yang move his house right now. If he was like, "Hey, I just need one more guy loading this truck," I would be that guy.
Dude, he was so nice because I was glad you were able to meet him. It was at MegaCon. Because I was chatting with the girls over at the Agents of Slab table, and he was right next to him, and I'm like, "Oh, there's John Jang. If you want to just chill with him while I had
casually."
But he's so dang nice, and he gets busy, man. He gets busy at them conventions now. Like he's popular guy. Like
dude, he's killing me with this.
Dude, him. I don't know. I think I feel very comfortable saying John Jang and Alan Quall in terms of the people I have met. Two nicest guys, like
dude, don't even get me started on Master Qual. You know that I am way too biased, but I will take a moment to flex his Superman that I'm grateful you guys were able to obtain for me.
Dude, Alan, he's a maestro with backgrounds.
That background.
Like, dude, he can do a destroyed city with the best of them. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if we're in one of these backgrounds.
Right? Like, he's like, oh, there's Roy, there's Danny.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would love to see Master Qual do a Death of Superman like cover, quote unquote, where it's Superman in the front and then the whole Justice League wrecked behind him. Like the way that it happened in the original, because he would knock that out of the park. Yeah, and then he's been killing the Dark Souls. Those are wraparounds.
There are wraparounds. This is the last one.
He just did a wraparound for Space Ghost. That's an exclusive, and I had to jump on that just because dang, he's good, man. I what I absolutely needed was 3 covers of Space Ghost #1, but here I am. Oh yeah, Roy, have you met Hoyt? Have you met Hoyt? That's
I met Hoyt once. That's Trey Walker's partner.
Yep.
I met him just the once when they came to sign for Mongrel, right?
No, well, yeah. Well, Mongrel was not this year. God, it feels like this year. At the end of last year at Blackbird, and then you might have met him when he came for Yumi, the spy book, and then
it was Yumi.
It was Yumi. Yeah. So like you might have met him then, but he's the nicest guy. I need to get with Dino. I had Trey do or Hoyt. Hoyt's also a colorist, so I had one of these in about the mid 2000s. They did these coloring book covers where like the cover was in black and white, but there was art on it. and I paid Hoyt to. I wish I could find it. It's somewhere in here, but I paid Hoyt to color it for me. He didn't have to draw for me; he just colored it. And holy cow, did he do a phenomenal Flash like coloring page?
Dude, that was raw. Yeah, I loved it. The shading on it looks really good.
Yeah, you remember that. I was actually gonna say that's probably the same day. And then this was
my last cover.
Matt Allison.
This is the last cover I'll show.
The book is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal. I don't know if you've jumped into Transformers just yet.
No, I own it all, but I haven't read it yet. I'm sure it's this one I have high hopes for also. But you'd have been stupid to not collect the first of this no matter what.
Yep.
And then because this was the Blackbird exclusive cover, super stoked about that. They said that they put out the Facebook to call up and reserve, and I was like, okay, great. They said that I was the first person to call in, and I was like, dude, like I wasn't gonna get one. But so basically, if these 300 had been numbered, mine would be number 1 or 2.
Number 1 or 2.
Yes, that's what I'm going with. So this is my legacy number 1.
That's awesome.
I love the way this take on Starscream is awesome.
I love it too. Yeah. And the pose with the head.
Yep.
And then the pieces in the other hand. I think it's a dynamic pose. Like I wouldn't have thought to pose him like that, but like it's a real dynamic pose.
And I like that he's more slimmed down like that because he's a fighter jet. That's what you would look like. You wouldn't be all clonky as a jet.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a big torso. Like it wouldn't.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you'd be streamlined like a jet. So I thought that this was really, really rad. And I'm so proud of them. And I'm very happy that I got to get my own copy of that to go with the rest of my ever-growing pile of Blackbird swag.
All right. Let's move on to the next segment before we do FOC. I thought this was thought-provoking. Let me put it that way. Are there too many comics being published? Originally, I thought just within the big two. Originally, my thought process is DC and Marvel publishing too many comics. And I kind of want to keep the focus at DC and Marvel simply because I don't want to knock a small company for doing 3 comics in 1 month. It's not their fault that Image and Boom and IDW and Dark Horse are also doing, whatever amount of comics. But so really, I kind of want to focus amongst DC and Marvel. But I'll just ask the question, Roy, do you think they are at one time publishing too many comics?
Absolutely. I think it was weird because you remember, like, I've been collecting comics my whole life, but I just took that huge 15-year step out the door where I wasn't reading anything and I wasn't really keeping up with anything at all because it was hurtful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to sit there and rub my own nose in it. And so I just kind of like cold ghosted from like comic books. And then, my wife, we drove by the billboard. My wife is like, hey. And so we walked back in the door and here I've been for 2 years now, buying literally everything and finding like a lot of clutter, things that like, I feel like I'm getting duped like a newbie. And so that's weird because in hindsight, I can see it like with did you know that they did another Secret Invasion mini like last year or so ago? There's maybe like close to the beginning of me.
I feel like I do remember that.
Yeah.
And then they obviously did a Secret Wars mini last year, the Battle World, remember?
Yep. Oh God. And none of it matters. None of it. Like, I guess maybe that's my age showing is I'm used to, if you have this mini series, the events that happen in there are impactful across the main line, the main characters. And these people are just like making up new Wolverines whenever they need them. Like, I remember when it became the biggest joke that Wolverine was in every book. Like, man, I wish it was just that problem now.
Yeah.
Now every version of Wolverine is in every book to the point where you just have to have books that are just every version of Wolverine. Are they making too much comics? Yeah, man. Big time. And it's just, how about comic books that they weren't going to be minis and then now they're trying to tell you it was a mini series because they're canceling it because it's not going anywhere. And how many times do they end up taking, and I talked about this last week, how many times do they take that same character with the same creators and just relaunch a number one to get that spike in sales?
Yep. Yeah. And Candace just said
Yeah.
quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm a big DC guy. I do think right now, and again, not being a guy who collects Marvel, but being a guy who sees the Marvel, I think Marvel is the bigger culprit in in that game right now. DC has taken a smidge of a step back, but to be fair, as you said it, I think it's the connected universe issue. I think it's the continuity issue. Um, with independence, when I think of something like Dawn Runner, Space Ghost, Creature from the Black Lagoon, there is one title that will hopefully come out monthly, and that is what I have to pick up, right? Like that is easy, that is cut and dry. To use a current example, Blood Hunt is the book has only been out for 2 weeks. Blood Hunt 1 came out last week, but between the 2 weeks, I want to say we've seen Blood Hunt, Vengeance of Moon Knight was a tie-in, Blood Hunters, Strange Academy, Dracula, Doctor Strange, Venom, and I think there was one other tie-in this week.
And
That's
God bless the transparency of David and Candace and everyone at Blackbird to let you know it's not mandatory for you to buy, the Brawny Man and Mr. Clean team up Blood Hunt number 1 on the red cardstock blank. Like, you don't need that garbage. And like I said, I respect them for that because, it is a retail business. So technically the more copies they sell, the better off they are. But they're not those people. And that's awesome because obviously Marvel doesn't have that problem.
Yeah. Well,
just
yeah.
churning this garbage
and
out.
It's funny because I talked to Dave about it, and it's very funny because me and him both had the realization of something like that around the same time. I had the epiphany of that right before Night Terrors came out. When people were asking me about Night Terrors, because
brutal.
I'm a big DC apologist. My whole thought process of Night Terrors, as people ask me about it, I said, look, if you like this idea, if you like spooky stuff, whatever, you read Night Terrors mainline. Okay, so you read the 5 issues across the main line. Now there's going to be a zillion tie-ins. If there is a character you love, you're a huge Nightwing fan, then you pick up the Nightwing Night Terrors. But do not feel obligated to pick up every tie-in. And that's kind of what I tell people with Blood Hunt now. Do mainline Blood Hunt. Whether you do red band, whether you do regular, it's not going to make a huge difference. And then you can pick the tie-ins that you enjoy. If Strange Academy is your jam, you grab the Strange Academy tie-in.
Candace and I are both excited for Union Jack.
Yep. I was gonna say.
I'm about that. If you're gonna give me Union Jack, it's in Vampires, and you're probably gonna give me Werewolf by Night. That might bring me Man Thing. Let's go.
But you pick your spots. I think you pick your spots, and that's the best way to handle it because the publisher right now is not going to stop making them. Right, as you said, Marvel has no problem pumping them out. I'm scared at what's going to happen when Absolute Power comes out, but I'll tell you what, they're not going to convince me to read. Oh God, what am I going to throw out there that I just am not going to read? They're not going to convince me to read Action Comics. And again, that's not a diss on Action Comics. It's just not an extra book I'm going to put into my poll right now. They're not going to convince me to read Action Comics just because it's a tie-in for Absolute Power. First of all, it should be the editor's job. It is an inside baseball in a way. It should be the editor's job to, if you're reading Absolute Power 3, and there was an Action Comics tie-in right before it, and it plays in, it should be the editor's job to say, editor's note, this happened in Action Comics, da-da-da-da. So that way
you have a whole Hickman-sized data page now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's not where we're going. But editors are supposed to do that. So, like, I think there's too much in the main lines right now. I think X-Men, and Dave sees it every day. And Dave's a huge fan. But I do think there's too many X-Men titles. And I do hope this relaunch. I'm kind of scared as people keep telling me that, like, what's coming out in this new wave of X-Men in July and August. I'm scared that they're just immediately going to hit the ground running with too many titles. I really think the sweet spot is between 3 to 5. I understand X-Men is a weird animal in the sense that you can have X-Men, adjectiveless X-Men, you can have an adjective X-Men, you can have a team Excalibur, you can have all these teams. But I do think you're going to miss out on potential readers if you are too focused on, hey, we have 6 books we want to put out. If you only do 3 and you wait for the other 3, is that so far what they've got?
Yeah, they're going, and this
Yeah.
is in the X-Men Addicts group where everyone who's watching
Yeah.
the show, if they're in
Is
an
that
X-Men group,
6?
it's this one.
Candace just said, Dave said,
Yep.
is that 6 titles on there? I just
Yep,
think
there's 6 of them out. And like I said, I also talked about this last time. Tom Brevoort said that like they'll give any, like, as long as the books are selling, they'll put out a new one every month. Even that they won't. They're telling you that Brian Stegman book is gonna ship 18 times in a year.
But what's crazy
With
to
who?
me is
With who?
somebody has to notice. Okay, yes, all of the books might be selling well enough, but if you went from 6 to 3, would you potentially not have higher sales in that thought that there is somebody that's buying 3 or 4 of them and they said, and my money is tight, so these 2 I will hold off on. But if you only have 3 at once, you're going to get all those fans to do them all. I don't know. And I think a part of it is simply there's not enough calendar weeks in the year for them to put out as many books as they want in that world. But I just think I feel bad for the consumer, right? And we are consumers in reality because we're still buying books. I feel bad for the consumer in the sense that it's a lot, man. And you got to think comics is a hobby for almost all of us. Like for almost all of us, it's a hobby. So like we shouldn't, everybody's still got to buy food. Everybody's still got to buy gas. Everybody's still got to buy Pampers if they got a kid. So it's like, this is all tertiary if you really think about it. So like, I feel like when you put too many titles out there, you take the fun out of it. It becomes a job. I've actually met people where like a Daryl back in the day, right? You could tell like it was like he'd be like, oh, another title from DC. And it's like he wants to get it because he's a fan and he likes reading and he loves comics. But like I hate that the publishers are putting consumers in that position where like they really got to make cuts, like if you're making cuts, it's not just that like your financials are it has nothing to do with your financials. It is there's too much product in the thing. And I'm sure it can happen to anybody, right? You love going to concerts and all of a sudden you look at the summer and there's 20 concerts in your area. It's like, okay, well, you got to pick what concert you're going to. It's maybe we're in the golden era of having choice, but I do think there's a too much. Do you agree that there can be too much of a good thing, right?
Yeah. Dude, when all of your wishes are granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. Like, that's a fact. And like, that's what it is. Like, I never thought in a million years, like, I could go on forever about like when I fell in love with the character of Adam Warlock and how that was the first comic book character that wasn't Wolverine. That was my favorite comic book character, and and I never thought that I would be in a position to sit here and tell you that I've never even seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I probably never will. And that shit makes me so angry. Sorry, it makes me so angry, though. And I never in a million years would think I would be in a position to complain about how they portrayed Adam Warlock in a movie. Like, never. But, like, just having that, like, did it help? I mean, I'd almost rather still wish upon a star for it, than have got what I got.
That's it's kind of true. I'm a DC apologist, so I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't really have a bad thing to say about the Flash movie, other than I wish it would have adapted something more truly. I feel like it's 25%, 20% Flashpoint, 20%.
Yeah, like everything's got to be Flashpoint now. It seems like.
And like if you want to do Flashpoint, that's fine. Flashpoint was huge. Flashpoint was a huge moment in comics, reset a whole universe. So it's just weird to me to be like, we're gonna do like 20% of this awesome thing.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, believe me, as the Infinity Gauntlet fans know what you mean.
It's like, we did a little bit of it. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Like,
So
like, and it has me worried about what, and Nick would be a great person to talk about this too. Has me worried about what they're going to do with Secret Wars at MCU, because 0% way it ends up being what the Secret Wars comic ended up being. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way
the Jonathan Hickman one, right?
Well, the assumption is that's what they're doing. is going to be that and not the original.
That's what I'm assuming as well. It thumbs down no matter what.
Yeah.
But you're telling me they're going to put God Emperor Doom in a movie and make it work?
Yeah.
No, they're not.
It's just
no, they're not.
It's what the people want, that adaptation. They do, right? They're like, oh, this was a phenomenal event in the comics history. Can you please give it to me in live action? But just like Civil War, and Civil War had its own problems with rights and stuff like that, and them not owning the rights to a lot of those characters. But Civil War, the movie, is 0.0%. It is probably a 5% take on Civil War, the comic book.
If Sokovia was real, I would smash it into the earth myself.
Like, it's just
I cannot stand any of that so much, dude. It makes me so angry.
And it's just like, to me, it's just like, and what's weird to me is I took like a small amount of filmmaking classes. That was what I did the tail end of my degree in the digital media sphere.
I tell all my girlfriends that I did.
And storyboarding, which is the way you kind of do your movie, right? You do a script and you storyboard. Storyboarding is literally a comic book. It is literally panels with dialogue or with directions. Like, how are you not grabbing the comic book, opening said comic book, going to the storyboard artist and be like, hey, this is what we want, but it has to be longer, right? Like or whatever. Like,
sure.
So do scenes within the scenes. I don't get it. I feel like comic books should be the easy. Forget about novels, right? Forget about novels. They're their own animal. Comic books should be the easiest medium to translate over into film.
For the most part, but some of it's not gonna translate well. Like, we saw a moment in X-Men 97 where, to me, it just looked like where comic books failed to hot mediums and even into animation. And it's spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen the latest episode of X-Men 97, but it's showing the scene of all of these like prime type Sentinels, and they're all floating in the exact same manner, and they're all shooting the exact same lasers. And in a panel, that would look cool and ominous and oppressive. And in the cartoon, it just looked hokey as crap to see a bunch of like floating robot ghosts with their fist lasers. It just didn't translate well, but I've seen the panels where it absolutely slapped. So there's going to be some hurdles, but like the majority of it, like, could probably be forgiven if you'd stop steamrolling over the stories just to make money. It makes me sad. And then everyone's like, oh, well, they didn't have the rights. And I'm like, well, how come they changed the color scheme of the gems?
Yeah.
And how come they changed them from gems to stones when they were originally stones before? But you don't know. They don't even know. They have to stop there because that's their only thing. I think then I had one friend be like, well, but they off like 8 people in like a Disney movie. And I'm like, are you taking a piss? Like the people that they've already shown their shows coming out after this?
Yeah.
What are you talking about right now?
And that's its own problem, right? It's the Hollywood machine, in the sense that you have to have a poster and a trailer out for your movie a year before. And it's like, well, that you then can't kill 80% of your cast.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember Spider-Man being like, it hurts or whatever, I don't remember what he said. I remember everybody in the movie theater crying. And I hate to be a cynic. But all I thought was, doesn't this kid have a movie in 6 months?
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? I'm sorry, Mr. Stark. Like, wipe your eyes. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But, like, he's alive. And then Black Panther, and that was its own animal in the sense that nobody saw Chadwick Boseman. Nobody saw that.
Have a great time, Candace. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you, Candace. Have fun out there. Happy Mother's Day. Well, I'll see you Sunday.
Happy Mother's Day.
Black Panther he disappears, and Black Panther 2 is already in the works. Unfortunately, T'Challa's not in it because Chadwick Boseman passes, but that's out of everybody's control, like that.
Sure, that's random act of God.
Yeah,
right.
But it just bugs me. It bugs me. Let's jump into FOC because we could talk about that stuff all day.
Hate comic book movies.
FOC, super easy. I'm going to show you how to do it if you have no Pullbox account, no nothing. So lunardistribution.com. You do not need a login. This is the homepage. The homepage looks like as such. You scroll down a tiny bit and you get to upcoming FOC. It's going to have 2 dates on there. I always start at 5/12. Let's scroll through. Barbaric, Born in Blood. Barbaric is literally like Conan meets My Name is Earl. If you have not jumped into it, do it. It is equal parts funny, equal parts brutal. Must have. Batman 148. We've got Batman 89 Echoes. We've got the Gotham by Gaslight facsimile. You've got an A cover and a foil cover. You know, I FOC'd that foil cover.
Oh, I see. I try to wait until Saturday to do mine just to make sure they've got everything posted. But now that we're doing the show now, so now this is my first time seeing it.
Yep.
So yeah, Gotham by Gaslight foil.
There was no
going in
art
there.
for this earlier. Obviously, I knew the art was just going to be the same, but yeah,
Right.
I'm doing the foil version for
But
sure.
that's why I tell you I generally wait until Saturday.
Yep.
They usually have more of it put up.
Then we got Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey's been a phenomenal series. I think it's been the sleeper series of the year for me so far. You got Blasphemous. Blue Beetle is coming down to its end. They did announce that 12 will be the finale. It's been a great series. Josh Trujillo and Adrian Gutierrez are killing it with Jaime, and I'm sad to see them go. But I do hope DC realizes these are the guys that need to write Blue Beetle forever and always. You know what I'm saying? If he's got either Popeye or Johnny Quest, because I am that old. I am an old soul, and that is what I like. So let's see. Cult of Lamb. Carly was telling me this is based on like a little PC game that a lot of people like.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
It's written by Alex Packendell, who's really great. I think he's in that Hive Mind with Dan Waters and Ram V out of England. So that is a cool book. Dick Tracy is getting a second printing and number 2. That's another old school thing kind of coming back. I do love that we're in this era. There's your Lucio Perillo, Kneel Before Zod.
Yeah.
Mad Magazine number 1 is getting a facsimile edition. I think that is awesome. Mad Magazine is something I 100% remember from being a kid. My Adventures with Superman number 1. This is kind of leading up into the second season of the TV show, written by Josie Campbell. Should be a fun little Superman story.
It's a cute show.
It's a young Superman, you know what I'm saying? Young Superman. Call it what it is. Nightwing 20th Anniversary Edition. You got your Poison Ivy. Frank Cho's been killing it on
no, my kid's gonna be up my butt on this one. All right.
Let's see, you got Tim Drake, Scale Trade, you got Shazam. Shazam's been really good. That's also Josie Campbell right now. Boy Wonder is your Tim Drake Robin book. And let's see what Image has real quick. Load. There we go. Bear Pirate Viking Queen. Daryl was saying that was his pick of the week from last week. So that should be really cool.
Okay.
Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. Sounds really cool. I love when a comic title is a sentence. It's one of my favorite things.
It's Klaus Janson. He does the inks.
Yep. Last Mermaid 4. That has been a phenomenal series. If you're not doing that, check it out. Precious Metal looks cool. Savage Dragon's still about it. Scarlet is your next G.I. Joe book after Duke. And then you kind of just go to Walking Dead.
Let me just drop something on everyone, because you were talking about if you don't know how to FOC, I'll show you how to do it. If you're going through one of these lists and it has a cover that they don't show you because there's a spoiler, that's the one, that's the Spider Boy that everyone's going to be crying about later. So just order it now. I only do the A covers, I know, and if that's all you want, you'll be happy. But I don't want to hear you crying when the Spider Boy cover drops and it's $9 billion in your firstborn child. And you're like, well, I didn't know. Your hint is that it won't show it to you and it just says spoiler.
Yep.
That's your hint to order that one.
That Spider Boy cover was the one. It was a spider adjectiveless Spider-Man like 7. And we're like, it's a spoiler cover, so nobody's going to get it, but it's going to be the one.
I have it.
It was the one.
I have it. Cover price, no problem. And I dream about hosting a whatnot where I just tear it in half. After all the bids are in, I just rip it in half.
So Marvel, obviously it's still got Blood Hunt, but they're starting the big Marvel Scotty Young event. So you're going to see a lot of Scotty Youngs. There's Scotty Young for Avengers. This is not a Scotty Young, but holy crap, is this a cool cover. It's Matthew Waite on Deadpool 3. It's kind of like a video game 8-bit cover where he's hitting Doom with a sword. I love that. Let's see what else we got. Scotty Scotty doing a Fantastic Four Thing cover. You've got a Godzilla 1 facsimile from Marvel Comics. I think that's cool.
Shut up in
Yep.
foil. Yes.
Yep. You got Hulk Scotty. You got Miles Scotty. That is a Blood Hunt tie-in. That one's super cool.
Sounds like Scotty does indeed know.
Spider. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I don't love this. So here's the Spider Boy Scotty, and then here's that Miles Morales Scotty. I literally think they're the same pose. He just changed the colors on the costume and drew some weapons on the back.
I was listening to Candace and Dave last week, and they were like, "Man, this guy's cranking out a lot." And I was telling Kai, I was like, "Yeah, but like, come on, what did you do? Like 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, look at that Hulk." And the Venom one from last week is the same thing. It's like just a black curtain, and we're not talking not even a Nakayama color bleed background. We're talking about just white. Like, here you go. Like that. Like Gambit will do one of those for you for $5 on a card the next time we have him out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thanos, and that is Scotty's thing, and Momoko does it too, where it's like you're just gonna draw that character and you're gonna leave the background white. So there's this Thanos one. It's a little better. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's adorable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it at all. I've got a ton of his work. But as far as being impressed by the output, no.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, this one bugs me a smidge. So like you couldn't have him draw Jubilee on the Jubilee cover.
Yeah, that does something.
Jean Grey.
Plus, I have like the House of X, Fall of X, or something like that, where it's Scott and Jean. And I noticed last week there was a Scott looked almost the exact same, and the Jean it's the same thing.
I do want to say Hildebrandt has been killing it with these the Marvel masterpieces.
Yeah, they're like the throwback to the old cards and stuff.
Yep. All right, so Dynamite, we got Lilo and Stitch. This has been a really good series written by Greg Pak. There is a hardcover and soft cover also. Space Ghost 2, Matina is doing those A covers. There is a foil again, so I did the foil.
Oh, Whisper.
Bjorn also killed it on his cover.
Yeah, he did.
Casada actually did a great job on that cover, to be fair.
Jay Lee.
Vampirella, Dark Reflections. If that's your jam, you've got tons of covers.
It's someone's jam. It's been going on forever.
Yeah, right? I was just going to say. And then as I scroll through this independent stuff, I will kind of allow us to jump into final thoughts because I got to get out of here. Roy, final thoughts on the comic industry, comics as they are right now?
I just want to say that for sure, no matter how many negative things that we might have to say, like there is definitely a comic book being made for you, no matter what you're into. And even if I were to stop if I were to stop collecting anything that hasn't been already released, I would still be able to shop comic books until the day I die. So keep that in mind. You know what I mean? If you're not, you know what I mean? Don't let what's going on in the world right now stop you, because there's still everything that has come before and, everything that is still yet to come. So, keep an open heart on that. Don't get, just like I said, man, don't let fear and deep pockets ruin your experience in comic books. And like you say, collect what you love.
Collect what you love. You'll never regret it. Last thing I want to mention on FOC, just because I saw it, the homie Jared LaJuan, Mezzo. Issue 2 is on.
Oh, Mezzo, nice.
Issue 1, we sold out of it at Blackbird the other day. It was actually on Jared's birthday. We sold our last copy. I want to say one for Mr. Trey Walker. But yeah, man, support Mezzo's cool book, Mesothelioma, Mesoamerican Aztec lore in this. And Jared is Mexican American, so like he is very passionate about this. He did his research. He literally did a book a while back called, oh my God, what was it called? Twin Blades? No, something like that. But he called it, he's like, if I would have thought it would have sold, I would have called it Mexicans with Swords.
That's what's up. I would definitely, that would catch my eye so fast.
So definitely support Jared out there with Mezzos. And with that being said, I'm going to go get married, or legally married. I already got Jesus married. But I'm going to go get legally married, put on my suit again, and see if I can find my cufflinks before I go. And with that being said, thank you for joining us. We will be back next Friday, I believe, with what will be the 3rd in a row episode, which, as the guy from Major League just told us, It's called a winning streak.
It's called the winning streak.
So thank you for everybody who joined us. Candace, David, you guys have a safe trip out there in
Travis.
Georgia. Travis Gibb. And then one last time, just RIP to
Daniel Martinez.
Man. Great person. If you're in the Space Coast area, find out how you can help support him and his family. He has like a 1-year-old daughter. So it's just our thoughts and prayers are with Daniel Martinez's family. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Quarter Variant at a Time.
Imperious Rex.